Come on in. We're going to talk technology and analytics. They're killing the music on me, so that means let's have a seat. All right, guys, we're just waiting for our last two panelists to come up. In the meantime, do yourself a favor, get familiar with their backgrounds. The bios are listed in the SMWW pamphlet. Okay, we're not going to spend too much time on their background because you have that information in front of you. All right. Feel free to come up, sit down, take a seat. I see some guys standing. We have some seats. Let's fill it up. We're going to get into it.
Hello, how's everything? Good. Yeah, cool.
All right, welcome to the Technology and Analytics panel for Sports Management Worldwide, the Football Career Conference here. I just want to remind everybody, hashtag SMWW 2026. Please feel free to tag me at NFL Draft Bible. My name is Ric Serritella. I'm the founder of All Access Football, and been working in this space for 25 years and know some of these individuals, just meeting some of these individuals for the first time like yourself. So we'll get to know them, we'll ask them some questions. And first up, I'm gonna introduce Jeremy Poole, who's the Director of Football Technology at the Jacksonville Jaguars, a role he's held since 2021. Previously at the University of Washington. Jeremy, if you can, I saw Dawn Aponte here, working with John Harbaugh. One of the first things he did was tell the New York Football Giants, we need more analytics. I just saw the Cincinnati Bengals, who are notoriously known for having a small scouting department. They just hired 3 individuals, 2 of which are in analytics. So if you can, just talk to me about the growth that you've seen in the football community when it comes to technology and analytics.
Great question. Have to hit the power button. That helps.
That'll work.
Is it plugged in? Yep. Question again was analytics in football and how it's being applied. Just to kind of paraphrase it. How's it going? Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct. In our world, which is the video technology part of it, analytics is kind of a part that's married into us. We have to work with groups to merge it in because everything's about what you see on tape. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. And a lot of APIs are being joined together so you can bring in all sorts of data. Data can be sorted, can be figured out, combined, clumped, and guys can just work faster. And that's what it's about, is efficiency. Don't waste your time. And that's how it's kind of getting pulled in. They're bringing in staffers, people that understand it much better than I do. And we just try to work with them the best we can to make sure that data and video combine.
Yeah, it also limits your risk, make smart decisions. You mentioned AI, that's going to be a big game changer when it comes to technology and analytics. And we also have Veronica McGrail from the Jacksonville Jaguars, the football technology assistant. Our good friend, our mutual friend, Mike Stober, teaches the catapult course here at SMWW. I know you're very hands-on with that. Just talk about some of your job duties, roles, responsibilities that goes with managing the catapult.
Yeah, well, hello everyone, first of all. Thank you for having me. So basically on a day-to-day basis, help assist coaches with their workflow. I normally bring in TV copies, help with college pro days, college games, practice, bringing in film, distributing it. Stobes and Jeremy have helped me a lot and taught me a bunch throughout my 3 seasons being here with the Jags, and I love it.
Very cool, thank you. We also have the godfather of analytics here with us today, somebody I know personally. He's been on my show numerous times, the founder of FootballOutsiders.com. Sure, we'll talk about some DVOA, currently with FTN Fantasy. And Aaron, you have been kind of at the forefront of analytics, and you've seen this business grow tremendously over the course of the past several decades. What's been the biggest change, in your opinion, from when you started out in this business to today?
Shoot, man, do you want a list? I've been doing this now for 23 years, and when I started, there was no such thing as you would come to the combine and the analytics department from the team would have a set of meetings with the data vendors who had data. There were no data vendors and there were no analytics departments. Now every team has an analytics department. There's a number of data vendors. They meet with the data vendors while they're here. They're doing their thing while the scouts are doing their thing and the coaches are doing their thing. So, I think everything about how analytics has grown in 23 years can be summed up with that. Both the teams having people and the data existing. 20 years ago, neither of those things were true.
Very cool. We also have Steve Palazzolo. I should get that right, Paisan. Check the Mic, 33rd team. Of course, one of the original members of Pro Football Focus. And, Steve, I do want to talk about your background for just a second because you came from the baseball world as a minor league baseball player and found yourself in the football universe. So just talk about some of the people out here who are trying to find their way. How did you transition from baseball to football?
Yeah, I played 8 years in the minors, and as I got closer to the big leagues, I was very analytical. That's why I'm in the space, and it's not always good when you're on the mound thinking, hey man, I've had a really good lucky season, lucky month here. This probably will run out at some point when it's like second and third, nobody out. So I was too analytical to pitch at some point, topped out at AAA, and then put that energy into football. And so Aaron and I, always talk about how there's no clear, easy path other than, networking and, talking to people and building relationships. And I had reached out to PFF at that time because I was a fan of theirs and I wanted their data for free. So I offered to work for them. And the rest was history. They hired me part-time and then eventually full-time once I was in the door, did good work, and then continued to advance through the company. So I thought it was more of a, example of networking, certainly right place, right time, but having that passion and building relationships and just seeing where that gets you.
Well, Steve, you mentioned two key words there, relationships and networking, right? And I think that goes a long way in any industry of the football aspect. So talk to me about, I had an SMWW student that contacted me yesterday, came up talking to me. He's like, dude, Rick, you finally got back to me. I've been trying to contact you. I've been calling you, man, but you returned my call. You got back to me. I helped him out. And I think persistence is so key. And I tell students this, until you got to find the fine line between persistence and peskiness, right? But the bottom line is this, until you hear that word no, the possibility of yes always remains, right? So it's the people that hit me up, stay hitting me up. Even if I don't get back to them, after a while, I'm going to say, golly, this person's hungry. He needs a shot. I'm going to get back to you. But you got to stay on top of it. I think too many people fire off an email, fire off a text 2-3 times. They get discouraged and they stop. Don't quit and follow up. But with all that said, Steve, I wanted to ask you, what's the best way from your personal experience? I'm sure you get hit up all the time. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to talk to you after this. How do you identify those individuals? And what's a piece of advice for staying persistent in that networking, building relationship aspect?
Buy me a coffee, bring food, bring snacks. If you want to talk, you can buy my time. No, it's a tricky one. I look at the combine and I imagine that if you're at the general manager, like there's GMs running around all over here, and they're at the top of the pyramid, so to speak, and everyone wants something from them. But somewhere along the way, they wanted to be in that seat, and you needed something from someone else. So you just try to find that balance. And again, it's I heard other people put it this way: you're looking to serve first, and then as you go, people will give back, right? So just offer to help. Well, how can I help you? How can we build this relationship? Can we continue to discuss? Can I reach out to you with questions or whatever it may be? The relational aspect is really good and important, and I think Yes, there's definitely a balance between, hey, here's, 17 unanswered text messages and, figuring out how to, get people to respond. But I think, yeah, persistence is important, but offering your services, whatever that may be, I think is always important. That tends to come back around.
Here's a good example, by the way, not from the analytics world, but it's really good to meet people on their way up. If you're a person on their way up, Andy Benoit used to write for me. He works now at 3013 with Steve. But I remember when I first met him, his whole thing was getting to know assistant coaches. I mean, the lowest assistant coaches, assistant linebackers coach, whatever. Because he knew if he befriended and got to know these guys, not only would he hear their perspectives on the game, but that they would move up in the ranks, and then he would know guys moving up in the ranks. And now he's become a big time consultant with 3013. He's worked with lots of coaches, people that he knew when they were assistant position coaches have become head coaches. So you don't necessarily need to bug the highest of the high. Even guys on their way up are people who will eventually be up.
That's great advice. You want to rise with the tides. I can't tell you how many people I met when I broke into this business as a young 20-something-year-old. And through the course of time, I've watched those people rise through the ranks, launch successful businesses and companies, and now we work cohesively. And so a lot of you guys looking around at each other are all going to go on and probably be a lot more successful than me. But make those relationships, get to know them, and believe me, the harsh reality is not everybody's going to make it. Some are. And the ones who do, you guys are going to benefit from that as you get older, materialize, become more mature, and want to conduct business. Now, Veronica, I know you're a relatively recent graduate from Arkansas in 2022. You did an internship and found your way with the Indianapolis Colts from there before landing with the Jaguars. What was the secret sauce to getting a start in the business?
So in college, I actually wanted to be in operations. In undergrad, I was an athletic trainer for University of Arkansas. Woo Pig, I don't know if anyone's... Woo Pig. There we go, okay. 2020, I graduated. Didn't know what to do, like anyone, during 2020, so I went to grad school, got in the video department, and I actually ended up getting a full-time job with the Jaguars at the Combine. Fortunately, when I was at the Colts, Combine's always here. I got to meet all of the head video guys, got to network with them, went to all of their dinners, hung out with them in the locker room, helped out any way that I could. And Mike Perkins ended up taking me under his wing. And, he's like, what would you do if I offered you blah, blah, blah? And it's like, pick up my shit and move tomorrow. So,
well, the Combine is a great place to be for networking, and I can't tell you how rare of an opportunity. Yes, it comes annually, but it's probably the only time of the year where you can converse with the NFL universe all in one destination, right? And so you've got to take advantage of that. Again, make those relationships, network. Aaron, you said something interesting during your opening comments. You said there were no data and analytics department in NFL organizations. So now every team has a department. I'm just curious, in your perspective, who are some of the top organizations or franchises that are using analytics and applying technology at a successful rate here?
Oh, Philadelphia, I think people definitely know is an analytics-focused organization. Cleveland has a very big analytics department. The ownership can sometimes get in the way of that, so they haven't necessarily been as successful. As far as people, the Detroit Lions have a very good analytics department. Eric Eager, who used to be in charge of analytics at PFF, now is with the Carolina Panthers, so I'd have to put them up there. There are a few teams where it's just one or two people, but again, every team has people at this point.
So Jeremy, with that said, how do you kind of gauge the Jaguars analytics department? Is that a conversation when you're in Indianapolis meeting with other analytics guys on other organizations? Do you guys share information, compare notes, or do you kind of have a standard, or do you guys kind of just go about your business? How does that work?
We really kind of go about our business, but there's kind of a subversion of analytics when it comes to our department video. So they, like you said, the analytics guys go with the analytics guys and video guys go with video guys. So I'm not really in the room when it comes to doing that. When they come back with all their great ideas, I try to help make them merge that in with video. But they do, meet up and do their thing.
All right, I got a couple more questions. If you guys have questions and want to start lining up, feel free to do so. Jeremy, since you are working in the NFL, I'm curious to know, are there any new trends that we should be aware of or any kind of latest developments that you see happening right now?
A lot of things when it comes to coaches video, we're trying to get to cloud stuff when it comes to video sharing. Everything's, just log in password. You think, we should have already been there, but it's actually kind of just turning a corner. So that's kind of the next big step is the mobility of coaches and scouts kind of being connected everywhere at all times. Includes video, analytics, everything at their fingertips, everywhere they go. And then our game day flow, how we edit and do things like that are getting more streamlined. So it's a faster process. The quicker things we can get done, the more things we can take on.
Steve, you are an innovator in creating trends in the analytics space from Pro Football Focus. What have you noticed more recently in terms of trends or the direction that the industry is headed?
Yeah, I think to Aaron's point, because, he's saying 20 years ago, there were no analytics departments. 10 years ago, there may not have been analytics departments. When I was first coming down to the combine, there would be, I remember one team came down here one time and a guy was hired 2 weeks before the combine and had a meeting with us to get our, PFF data, and he didn't even know where to start. He was like reading articles. You're reading Aaron's articles to learn to what to do. So he got better as he read. So now they're robust. They can take in big data, but it still comes down to making decisions, right? The decisions haven't changed. The information going into those decisions changes, whether it's an in-game decision, whether it's a personnel decision, roster management, whatever it may be. So I think the innovation is still taking in a lot of data. There's more data coming out, a lot more data coming in the next couple of years. Yeah. And now you still have to make the same decisions. You still have to have a process to get there. So I think what's changing is the ability for an organization to take all of this information, synthesize it, and get it to that one solitary decision, wherever that is within the flow of the organization or the game.
And if I could sell our class for a moment, the football analytics class. The football analytics class is not teaching you how to do analytics. We can't teach you how to do R in 8 weeks. What it's teaching you is, what is analytics? How is it developed? What does it teach? How does the data work? The people who work with it, what are they doing? And that's so that when you're a decision maker in whatever level you get to, and you talk to the analytics people, they're not speaking Martian to you, you understand it. And so what we want to do is help you understand that, because analytics is so widespread now throughout the league that everybody needs to sort of understand the basics of it, even if they're not doing it on a day-to-day basis.
And really quick, just to add to that with the course and everything, I always talk about telling stories with data. At the end of the day, you're trying to either influence a decision maker, or maybe you're the decision maker, but you're trying to make sure that they understand what the data is saying so that they can make the best decision. So the ability to communicate is still, I still hear it as a pain point around the league, where people don't necessarily trust their data people because they don't convey it clearly, or as clearly as they can.
Yeah, trying to put it in layman's terms could be challenging. Okay, I know you guys got questions. I got one more myself. I'm going to open it up to whoever wants to answer it. AI. It's an exciting word for young people. It's maybe a scary word for older people like myself. Have we seen AI proliferate through technology and analytics? Is it still on the way, or is it already here?
I'm one of the scared older people. So, I think what it's going to do is, in the analytics world, it'll help people code, right? It codes fairly fast. I know Ben Baldwin, who's a fairly well-known analytics guy on social media, has talked about using Claude Code, and he was very frustrated by how good it was that it helped him to program. So, when you're trying to program R to come out with a result, it may save time with that. We're still going to need people to make the decision. We're still going to need people to be creative.
yeah, it's going to accelerate things. You know, just in the public sphere, we're seeing people just whip up advanced websites right now, you know, with the salary cap and various things. So I think it's just going to internally within teams advance, and then, you know, for the public, I think we will see some cool stuff coming up in the months ahead.
Fascinating stuff. All right, we're going to open it up to questions. Please be clear, state your name, let us know where you're from. And I got to ask, where's my Jersey people at? Jersey? Just one? Two? Philly? Nah. All right. We'll chat afterwards. All right, we'll start with this young lady in the front. What do you got?
Hi there. My name is Amber Baracali. I'm a software engineer at a tech company. And my question is actually regarding AI, because at a tech company, all we talk about is AI. And I'm very curious, it doesn't sound like AI is too much in the football world, because if you're just now getting to the cloud, I'm not sure if it'll be used very much. But I am curious if you guys do foresee it streamlining decision-making with the analytics team. Aaron, you kind of mentioned that it does good coding, but is there a way that you could combine decision-making and the analytics that you get from the analytics team to streamline and make it a little bit faster for coaches to make decisions?
I don't know. Again, I'm sort of the old guy who's sort of reticent to use it. I do know that Mike McDonald, they had him interviewed on, I think on NFL Network yesterday. And, you know, Microsoft Copilot is one of the sponsors. So the host said to him, you know, what do you use it for? And he did have a good idea, which is he said, we use it for player comparisons, because if you think about it, we can write algorithms, but the AI is going to be much faster to be like, all right, this cornerback is 6'2", 200, runs this 40, and the scouting report says he has smooth hips, but he has trouble in his back pedal. All right, well, let's find all the cornerbacks in the past that were close to 6'2", 200 with a similar 40, who were also described as having trouble with their back pedal. Okay, well, the AI is going to do that much faster.
My man right here, what do you got?
Hi, my name is Russ Ward. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I'm here with my daughter, Emma. And my question is for Veronica. Thank you so much for being on the panel, being a young woman who's impressive and working in analytics. My daughter has been watching sports with me for years, takes a great interest in sports and analytics, and I just wanted to bring her here to show her the opportunities that she could get into as she moves through her high school career and into college. Veronica, what advice would you give to her as somebody who's planning out at a young stage? Like, what can she do to prepare herself to get into a position like you're in?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. All I can say is network. What I did in college, I didn't even start in high school. I started my senior year in college. I would email about 10 different people a week that I was interested in whatever department, whether it was operations, football, video, whatever. I might have gotten 2 or 3 responses back, but I still have those relationships till this day. And, they're either at Cincinnati or wherever, and we keep those relationships. If I were you, I would definitely start to just email and build those networks.
Thank you so much.
Great question, good answer. My draft dude, what do you got?
Tanner Williams. I'm from University of Alabama, Roll Tide. This is probably towards Aaron. Let me know if you get confused here, but what are some inefficiencies that you think, especially in data-driven today, that teams kind of underreact or overreact to? I know you brought up Mike McDonald, especially this past year. He runs nickel 92% of the time in teams, and when they go to the EPA efficiency, you would think, hey, I'm going to run the ball against your nickel, and they're not going to. So do you think that teams are, especially nowadays, they're like, hey, just because the data says it, that I'm still going to do it? So what do you think teams are still need to learn, or do you think they're not really grasping the mental state of the actual player?
I think that it's tough on the outside for us to figure out where the inefficiencies are now, because they're so much less obvious than they were 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was obvious, like fourth downs were such an inefficiency. But nowadays, coaches are so much better about the fourth down thing, and they understand position importance much more, right? Running backs and linebackers have fallen down in the draft a little bit. We may have gotten to a point where that's happened too much. It's going to rebound a little bit. Everything in the NFL is cyclical, right? Like, an offense becomes successful, defenses develop to stop it, then offenses develop to attack those defenses, and back and forth, and it's gone that way through for 75 years. There still are some coaches who are a bit reticent to understand some of the most basic things. A big one is the whole going for two when you're down by 14, so that you're down by 6 instead of 7. It's a long thing. We'll talk about it in class. But it's hard to sort of identify where the specific inefficiencies, because we're not, so much is done now with the tracking data from the chips and the pads and stuff. And on the outside, we don't usually have access to that data.
Thank you.
My man in the yellow, what you got?
Hey everybody, I'm Skylar. I'm from Canada. I'm manager of football ops and scouting out there. I've got a question for everybody on the panel, if I may. So I'll start off with Mr. Serritella. So obviously I'm Canadian. I was wondering how developed Canadian football is in terms of analytics compared to the NCAA and the NFL.
It's almost non-existent. In fact, I can speak on firsthand experience. I was the assistant general manager at the Edmonton Elks. I also worked for the Toronto Argonauts, and I can tell you that they are not using analytics in a very high fashion at all. And a big part of that is because an NFL front office is typically 20, 30, maybe more staff members. In the Canadian Football League, they have front office salary cap, and so you might be having 2, 3, maybe 4 individuals at a maximum in your personnel department. And I think that you're spread so thin. For example, when I was with Edmonton, I was responsible for covering the entire United States, right? So you got NFL scouts, they take a region of the country. You scout in Canada, you're responsible for the entire country. So just trying to keep up with the players, filing reports, it leaves very little time for analytics and technology. The other aspect of that is CFL teams are cheap. They don't want to spend the money. They don't want to invest in the technology. And so I think the CFL has a long ways to go to catch up in terms of the NFL or the NCAA. And great question.
It's a fascinating question, by the way. If any CFL team wanted to hire me as a consultant, I think it would be kind of awesome, because the rule differences mean that the analytics are very different, because fourth down now becomes third. You now have a 1-yard space between the offensive and defensive lines. So 3rd and 1 is really 3rd and 0. Like it's like the differences in the game make it very interesting.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And my next one's for Mr. Poole and Ms. McGrail. So how would you guys measure ROI on football tech in terms of, like, because of wins and losses can't be tied to a system specifically, but how would you guys measure the ROI in terms of what you guys do for the Jags?
Coaches use tape every day. Video is, I say tape, but not been on tape for years, but video files, they use it every day after practice, everything like that. So, I mean, what we do is we go into a dark cave as video people, and we shoot practice, we shoot every game, we marry all the information to it for them, they analyze and go for it. So it's an everyday kind of thing. So I feel like the return on investment is they use it, they lean on it, they have to have it, and that's why our staff is integral to the team. And
Yep, I can concur with Jeremy with what he's saying. Basically, if coaches or players, whatever they need, we have to assist them in any way possible.
Awesome. Thank you.
one more note, sorry on that. We are service providers for our staffs. Like that's our role. So whatever we can do, it's never a no, it's figure it out.
Exactly, yeah. Thank you. My next one's for Mr. Schatz. So what's a stat that you created or believed in early that NFL teams didn't take seriously at first, and why?
Well, I mean, it took time for DVOA, which is my main metric, to be adopted. Certainly, in retrospect, I would have probably called it something simpler if I realized I was going to build a career on this. And you always struggle to tell the story of an advanced stat and explain it, but gradually over time, it's become more and more accepted to where coaches are quoting it. And, I talk to people in the league, special teams coordinators use it a lot. Tom Brady is quoting it on the Tonight Show and all that stuff. So it's come a long way in 23 years.
Awesome, thank you. And then my last one's for Mr. Palazzolo. So obviously I'm a big fan of the podcast, but you said on the podcast one time, that college schemes can really distort how we evaluate certain positions, especially with the quarterback and the offensive line. When you're watching tape, how do you separate what's the player versus what's just the system?
appreciate you listening, first of all. But yeah, it's a challenge because college teams are trying to win college games. So obviously, they're not trying to put players in position to look good professionally. So there are just certain systems where receivers don't run a full route tree. Offensive line rarely has to pass block. Even just from a defensive perspective, you don't always. The NFL is pretty much a two edge rusher game, right? There's an edge rusher on each side, and you have to account for those guys. They're going to rush the passer. College, sometimes it's just one. They're going to have a heavier front, and they're just going to have one pass rusher that you have to care about. So everything schematically can be different, and when you're watching film, you just have to try to, as much as you can, find the plays that have more NFL type of concepts, NFL type of skill sets are needed within those plays. So say Keldrick Falk from Auburn, he's probably going to be an edge rusher. He's big, he's going to rush the passer, and he's playing on the interior the entire time. So it hurts the sample size of reps that you get to watch him, but you try to find the times that he's going to do something that he's doing at the NFL level.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those well-thought questions, Canada. Make sure you come see me after the conference. We'll chop it up a little bit. My man, nice suit. What do you got for us today?
My name is William Richard. I'm from Eugene, Oregon, SCO Ducks. I have a question just for the panel in general. As a computer sciences soon-to-be graduate, and you mentioned, Aaron, that R is what you teach in. Is the NFL actually all on the same page with R, or are they using Bash or Power BI, or are they using different languages? And which ones, as you're trying to break in, should we be looking at as form of future analytics or computer science majors?
All the analytics people that I know use either R or Python.
Thank you.
And they fight over it.
Yeah, they fight over which is better.
I think Python's better for productionizing the work. And I think that's when you're trying to make something actionable, in my experience, Python's better.
Yeah.
Maybe for the research, it's R.
Good question. Go ahead, my man.
Hi, my name is Ben Sappos, pursuing scouting. Thank you guys for taking the time. I've got a question for Steve, actually, about the model. Yeah, big fan of the model. I have a lot of questions about it, but I'll narrow it down to one. I know you play pretty close to the chest, but what is a metric that you weigh more heavily than people might expect? Just any position.
The model is very secretive, I'm networking around here trying to talk to executives as well, saying, look, I can help in your personnel process here, but it varies by position. I think some of them are, trying to think offhand, more obvious. I would say some of the workout data, because I try to look at the workout data and how it maps to production, not necessarily to whether or not a guy's a good athlete or not. So I would say that. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out when players work out here this week, how good of an athlete are they historically? I think looking at how their testing projects to production is the way to do it. And so that's part of how I like to look at this week and what the workouts mean.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. We got my man right here. What do you got?
Hey, good morning. My question is for Mr. Aaron. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I'm going to school to Colorado University with a concentration in data and analytics. And I was wondering, what career paths are the most attractive to the NFL when looking for people to bring into the industry with an already somewhat tailored skill set?
I don't know actually for sure what career paths. Obviously, I mean, there's sort of, one is be willing to do entry-level work in the NFL. One is, I think it makes more sense to have a broader education. I know there's places out there that actually have sports analytics like majors. I'd rather do a data analytics major and know how to do more things. And I'm blanking on what the other thing I was going to say is. That's what happens with age.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It'll all come back around to us, Aaron. All right, what do you got right here, my man?
My name is Jack McQuaid. I go to Kennesaw State University in Atlanta, majoring in sports management. I had a question for Mr. Steve. I am also kind of doing the baseball to football transition. I work for the Braves right now, but like football is what's going to make me happy. Baseball's cool, but football's cooler. I was just wondering if you had any broad or niche advice for somebody taking that jump from there, if there's anything that stays consistent, anything that changes, or anything that you could offer for that.
I would say learn. I asked a lot of my former baseball colleagues, because baseball is more advanced from a data perspective, obviously. I ask a lot of questions about how do they communicate. I come back to the telling stories and communication aspect a ton, because everybody in baseball has a ton of data. Everybody in football has a lot of data, more coming. But at the end of the day, again, the decisions don't change. The number of decisions that you have to make doesn't change. So being able to communicate those things. So I would say, pick the brains of baseball people. How did you make inroads? How did you communicate to maybe people who didn't understand data? And then there was this flip where now the people that are in charge came up with data. Football hasn't made that switch yet, right? There's still a lot of people that came up through scouting, they came up through their traditional methods, and it's a little bit harder, to get them to adopt newer principles. Not archaic, but it's just a little bit slower. Baseball's ahead of that. So I would say the advantage there is learning the process, the communication, how baseball got to how it is. And now football will probably get closer to that in the next 5 or 10 years, and that's an advantage you could potentially use.
Awesome, thank you.
I remembered what I was going to say to this fellow over here. Do the big data bowl. The best advice I can give anybody who wants to get into analytics in football is do the big data bowl.
They just throw jobs.
Not only do they
out
just
there,
throw
yeah.
jobs at anybody who's a finalist, but even if you're not a finalist, you've had the experience of using the tracking data, and you now have a project to present to any teams who say, well, what have you done in the football world? And you're like, well, here we go.
How does one go about registering for that, Aaron?
They announce it every year in September, and it's all over social media, the link to the NFL site that has it, and then you just download the data and you do a project.
Follow Michael Lopez on Twitter. I think you'll get to the answers.
There we go. Great advice. Orange, what do you got?
Hi, my name is Duncan Ains Mills. This is my second year actually being at the Combine. And my question is, I'm currently taking an analytics course through SMWW actually, and we were actually talking about Python, R, but then a third one came up, and I just wanted to know what all your opinions are on this third one, but SQL? If SQL's good?
That's a database, that's for database administration, which it doesn't actually, I'm not a really good programmer, but it doesn't actually do the analysis, but it keeps your database.
Okay. So anyone else have any ideas? And also, Steve, I know we talked about PFF. I know you were promised the cookie.
Yes, you owe me a cookie, Duncan, from our class. Stober's a SQL expert.
Just
Not,
about to bring
you're
that
not
up.
Stober, but
I was just about to bring
our
that up.
colleague.
So having a background in SQL when it comes to Catapult Thunder, which the class that Stober teaches is the Catapult Thunder here. The whole backbone of Excel's Catapult Thunder is SQL. Knowing how to get in the right queries and code to figure stuff out, to filter through. The whole program's based off of that. Now I said we're moving on to cloud. They're trying to get off that backbone for sync into databases and so forth, get us free from that lockdown. But if you were in my world, having the ability to even do basic functions in SQL, very useful. That's something I've scratched the surface on. I don't know if he's ever touched it before, but Stober is a master of it. So.
Somebody mentioned or asked about what's the best career path or what can be appealing to NFL teams. Well, I can tell you that every NFL and NCAA teams needs a catapult guru, right? And they're talking about Stober. That's our mutual friend. Mike Stober is a good friend of mine. He teaches the SMWW catapult course. Aaron and Steve teach the SMWW analytics course, right? So you got a little sneak peek of what these guys bring to the table, but if that's your area of expertise that you're trying to break into the business to, well, then you might want to learn from these folks, okay? We got one more question. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Eric Krasinski. I'm from Akron, Ohio. My question for all of you guys is just to get your perspective on the overall job market for analytics today, and how it compares between say NFL teams versus I know college teams are getting into it now, and also third party and vendors, like PFF and 33rd Team and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely growing. We go back to the big data bowl and everything. The fact that the finalists were immediately offered jobs from various teams and everything yesterday. So that's teams are expanding. I remember a couple of years ago, an NFL team said that they went to see the Cubs or the Red Sox or one of the teams that had 20 to 30 engineers in their building, and I anticipated by this time that maybe the NFL would have that. It hasn't really gotten there yet, but they continue to add, right? There's more data coming. There's more same problems to solve, as I keep saying, but with more data to do it. So I think they're expanding in the NFL, and then college, they're trying to figure out the transfer portal. This is the first time that's ever happened. They don't even know. They're trying to figure out how to build a front office. I've talked to a lot of college teams who say, we want to build an NFL front office. Well, there's 32 different types of NFL front offices. They're all built differently. There's no standard. So college teams are trying to figure out, because they have a similar amount of data, and they don't have the process, to synthesize all of it just yet. So I think there's great opportunity there, and there's more third-party vendors popping up everywhere. So yeah, putting yourself in position into all those situations and reaching out in all of those growing areas, I think in the coming years is going to be big.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to come to each of you guys for a parting shot. In the meantime, I have a question I'm going to direct at Jeremy, but feel free if anybody else wants to weigh in. I'm just listening to job avenues and developments and analytics and technology. So my question is guarding the information, right? Because everybody's looking for an edge. There's hackers, there's people trying to obtain your information. Is cybersecurity something now that you have to have in-house just to protect your data?
Yeah, it's a thought. NFL IT has policies that are put in place, things that apply to Exos machines, Catapult specifically. We keep on saying Exos. That's the old name from the Catapult company. I'm sorry. But Catapult, when it comes to securing what your video is, who can log in, dual factor authentication, but that's on the user level. On the background level, sorry, excuse me. There's a lot of thoughts, a lot of things put into that, making sure that your information is secure, that you're not getting out there and giving other teams an edge by knowing what you're thinking. So that's big. We have plans, we have teams in place. To answer your question there, we do have teams in place to keep that in track.
Aaron, do you see that as a concern?
This is not an area of my expertise.
Okay. All right, anybody else on that?
Not an expert either, but yeah, it's a concern. I mean, what was the
There was a thing in baseball.
baseball? Yeah, the Astros got hacked or whatever by.
Well, the reason why I bring it up, and I don't want to put out misinformation, to quote Roger Clemens, but the talk of the town on the Oregon campus after they lost to Indiana was the coaches were pissed because they felt Indiana hacked their catapult and had their practice footage throughout the week. Now, take that for what it's worth. It's just what I heard. Don't kill the messenger. But that's why I asked the question, and I think that's a reality now with technology. All right, we're coming to a conclusion. We'll just go down the line, guys. Whatever's on your mind based on what you heard, a piece of advice, parting shot, how people can further their career, whatever you guys want to do. We'll go right down the line, starting with you, Jeremy.
They can't say no if you don't ask. The point we made earlier about it, put yourself in the room. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but a lot of us, be a good person, be in the room, look for the opportunity at the time. A lot of us did a lot of cold calling, to use the sales term, and sometimes they hang up, sometimes they're just polite to you, other times it leads to a great interaction. So just don't give up hope, keep trying. You made a great point with that, keep trying.
Firm believer in that. Go ahead, Veronica.
Yeah, to follow up on that, it's not all about what you know, but who you know, if you remember that. And to just learn and just network, like I was telling you earlier. It's not easy to get into the NFL, but it does help who you know, and they will teach you everything that you need to know.
Holistic knowledge. This is a story from another sport, but for folks who don't know, Theo Epstein, one of the most analytics-oriented GMs, spent a couple of years in scouting for the Padres before he became a GM so that he would have a more holistic view of the game. The same thing applies in football. Scouts should understand data. Data should understand scouting, coaching. Everybody should be able to speak to coaches. Just have a holistic view of things. And if folks want to ask me questions, I know Adam Schefter is speaking next, so you may not want to find me right after the panel. I will be at the lunch if people want to talk to me instead.
All great advice. Agree with all of that. I'm going to give a piece of advice for when you do get a job. So not the finding part of it. When you do get a job, do the job extremely well. And you have to find that balance between trying to build your career, but your employer wants you to do the job really well, right? You're not getting hired because they think you're going to be the next general manager or the next whatever the pinnacle of what you want is. They're hiring you to do the job, and you advance because you do that job extremely well, and you find that balance between, you know, creating as much value as you possibly can within the role while also, like as Aaron is saying, building other skill sets. So I think that's the career balance that you have to try to find. Just do your job extremely well, provide value, go above and beyond, and that's how you get noticed and that's how you advance.
Also, your passion will ooze through, right? If you love what you do, right, your passion is going to ooze through. So keep all that advice in mind. I also had another thought, which I forgot. Hopefully it comes back around to me. Any other final questions here? You guys want to pick the brain? You guys are all good? All right. Again, SMWW.com has the courses online if you're interested. I think we're doing a promotion. Am I allowed to say?
No. Oh, you can say what you want.
All right.
And then we'll do a break.
I don't want to spill the beans. We're going to take a break. Adam Schefter's up next. Yeah. I was Ric Serritella. Thank you so much for the panelists. Let's give it up, everybody.